is Brian Monteith, former member of the Scottish and European Parliaments. Brian, what is happening in England, where all of this stuff is being tossed out through the unsawn door in a couple of weeks' time, doesn't seem to be happening in Scotland anytime soon?
Well, it does seem absolutely bizarre that you need to actually cut the bottoms of doors, but actually, ministers have written papers actually explaining this is a necessity. They've earmarked over £300,000 to pay for it. And everybody, as soon as it was said, realised what a nonsense and what fools we're being made of in Scotland. Well, fortunately, most Scots seem to think it was such a laugh that they just turned all their laughter back onto the SNP.
Now, what I want to know is whether she's got plans to do anything with the bottom 2 inches of every single door. Is there going to be a Scottish National Museum of door bottoms on an outlying Shetland island?
Well, I'm not very tall, but neither is Nicola Sturgeon. Maybe she thinks it could be useful for standing on when she's speaking to television cameras, as she's been known to do in the past. Of course, what they are also doing, as well as cutting the bottom of doors, is seeking to keep masks in the classroom. And this, of course, is actually really about giving in to the teaching unions. The SNP has always been beholden to the teaching unions, thinking this is the way to power, and it certainly helped work for them. And since we've had the COVID pandemic, the whole approach has been in schools to do what the teaching union says. And that's why we still have that situation in Scotland. But in England and elsewhere in the UK, it has been ignored because the unions have been ignored.
Yeah, but there's something a little more than that going on, I think, because in America, for example, where the Democrat Party is beholden to the ghastly American teachers' unions, but they're now backing off masking kids because they finally understood from looking at their internal poll numbers that when you're actually tormenting and torturing kids for 8 hours a day, it does nothing for your poll numbers, and you realise you're going to lose a whole bunch of seats, which they think is going to happen to them in November. So they're backing off the whole mask thing. Is the reality of Scottish politics that Nicola Sturgeon can keep kids in masks for another year and not suffer a political hit for it?
Well, I do think there is an aspect where there is just not enough serious opposition to the SNP in the Scottish Parliament, or even then out in the streets, although there are many marches held and people write to the media, write letters and so on. But another aspect to that is not just the difficulty of speaking out and raising opposition to Sturgeon. It is also that in the United States, a lot of these rules were governed by the different states. So the states actually, in a sense, could compete with what they were able to do. And states that had got rid of the masks could be compared with states that had kept them. And as governors and legislators could see that the public was turning against masks, they too quickly had to change. But of course, in Scotland, it's not the councils that determine whether the masks are worn, it's Nicola Sturgeon and her government. And so there is no competition, there is no comparison, people only can accept what she's offering.